this through is the DeepSeek, so-called DeepSeek moment. This happened about a year ago in January 2025 when the open-weight Chinese company DeepSeek released DeepSeek R1 that I think it's fair to say surprised everyone with near or at state-of-the-art performance with allegedly much less compute for much cheaper. And from then to today, the AI competition has gotten insane, both on the research level and the product level. It's just been accelerating. Let's discuss all of this today, and maybe let's start with some spicy questions if we can. Who's winning at the international level? Would you say it's the set of companies in China or the set of companies in the United States? And Sebastian, Nathan, it's good to see you guys. So Sebastian, who do you think is winning?
So winning is a very broad, term. I would say you mentioned the DeepSeek moment, and I do think DeepSeek is definitely winning the hearts of the people who work on open weight models because they share these as open models. Winning, I think, has multiple timescales to it. We have today, we have next year, we have in 10 years. One thing I know for sure is that I don't think nowadays, 2026, that there will be any company who is, let's say, having access to a technology that no other company has access to. And that is mainly because researchers are frequently changing jobs, changing labs, they rotate. So I don't think there will be a clear winner in terms of technology access. However, I do think there will be the differentiating factor will be budget and hardware constraints. So I don't think the ideas will be proprietary, but the way or the resources that are needed to implement them. And so I don't see currently a take it all scenario where a winner takes it all. I can't see that at the moment.
Nathan, what do you think?
You see the labs put different energy into what they're trying to do. And I think to demarcate the point in time when we're recording this, the hype over Anthropic's Claude Opus 4.5 model has been absolutely insane, which is just, I mean, I've used it, I've built stuff in the last few weeks, and it's almost gotten to the point where it feels like a bit of a meme in terms of the hype. And it's kind of funny because this is very organic. And then if we go back a few months ago, we can get the release date in the notes as Gemini 3 from Google got released. And it seemed like the marketing and just like wow factor of that release was super high. But then at the end of November, Claude Opus 4.5 was released and the hype has been growing. But Gemini 3 was before this. And it kind of feels like people don't really talk about it as much, even though when it came out, everybody was like, this is Gemini's moment to retake kind of Google's structural advantages in AI. And Gemini 3 is a fantastic model and I still use it. It's just kind of differentiation is lower. And I agree with Sebastian, what you're saying with all these, like the idea space is very fluid, but culturally Anthropic is known for betting very hard on code, which is Claude Code thing is working out for them right now. So I think that even if the ideas flow pretty freely, so much of this is bottlenecked by human effort and kind of culture of organizations where Anthropic seems to at least be presenting as the least chaotic. It's a bit of an advantage. And if they can keep doing that for a while. But on the other side of things, there's a lot of ominous technology from China where there's way more labs than DeepSeek. So DeepSeek kicked off a movement within China, I say kind of similar to how ChatGPT kicked off a movement in the US where everything had a chatbot. There's now tons of tech companies in China that are releasing very strong frontier open weight models to the point where I would say that DeepSeek is kind of losing its crown as the preeminent open model maker in China, and the likes of Z.AIs with their GLM models, Minimax's models, Kimi Moonshot, especially in the last few months, have shown more brightly. The new DeepSeek models are still very strong, but that's kind of it could look back as a big narrative point where in 2025 DeepSeek came and it kind of provided this platform for way more Chinese companies that are releasing these fantastic models to kind of have this new type of operation. So these models from these Chinese companies are open weights, and depending on this trajectory of business models that these American companies are doing could be at risk. But currently, a lot of people are paying for AI software in the US, and historically in China and other parts of the world, people don't pay a lot for software.
So some of these models like DeepSeek have the love of the people because they are open weight. How long do you think the Chinese companies keep releasing open weight models?
I would say for a few years. I think that like in the US, there's not a clear business model for it. I have been writing about open models for a while, and these Chinese companies have realized it. So I get inbound from some of them. And they're smart and realize the same constraints, which is that a lot of US tech companies and other IT companies won't pay for a API subscription to Chinese companies for security concerns. This has been a long-standing habit in tech. And the people at these companies then see open weight models as an ability to influence and take part of a huge growing AI expenditure market in the US. And they're very realistic about this. And it's working for them. And I think that the government will see that that is building a lot of influence internationally in terms of uptake of the technology. So there's going to be a lot of incentives to keep it going. But building these models and doing the research is very expensive. So at some point, I expect consolidation, but I don't expect that to be a story of 2026, where there will be more open model builders throughout 2026 than there were in 2025. And a lot of the notable ones will be in China.
You were going to say something?
Yes, you mentioned DeepSeek losing its crown. I do think to some extent, yes, but we also have to consider, though, they are still, I would say, slightly ahead. And the other ones, it's not that DeepSeek got worse. It's just like the other ones are using the ideas from DeepSeek. For example, you mentioned Kimi, same architecture, they're training it. And then again, we have this leapfrogging where they might be at some point in time a bit better because they have the more recent model. And I think this comes back to the fact that there won't be a clear winner. It will just be like that. And one person releases something, the other one comes in, and the most recent model is probably always the best model.
Yeah, we'll also see the Chinese companies have different incentives. So like DeepSeek is very secretive, where some of these startups are like the Minimaxes and Z.AIs of the world. Those two literally have filed IPO paperwork, and they're trying to get Western mindshare and do a lot of outreach there. So I don't know if these incentives will kind of change the model development, because DeepSeek famously is built by a hedge fund, high flyer capital, and we don't know exactly what they like. We don't know what they use the models for, or if they care about this.
They're secret in terms of communication. They're not secret in terms of the technical reports that describe how their models work. They're still open on that front. And we should also say, on the Opus 4.5 hype, there's the layer of something being the darling of the X echo chamber on Twitter, echo chamber, and the actual amount of people that are using the model. I think it's probably fair to say that ChatGPT and Gemini are focused on the broad user base that just want to solve problems in their daily lives. And that user base is gigantic. So the hype about the coding may not be representative of the actual use.
I would say also a lot of the usage patterns are, like you said, name recognition, brand and stuff, but also muscle memory almost, where, like ChatGPT has been around for a long time. People just got used to using it, and it's kind of like almost like a flywheel. They recommend it to other users and that stuff. One interesting point is also the customization of LLMs. For example, ChatGPT has a memory feature, right? And so you may have a subscription and you use it for personal stuff, but I don't know if you want to use that same thing at work, because it's a boundary between private and work. If you're working at a company, they might not allow that, or you may not want that. And I think that's also an interesting point where you might have multiple subscriptions. One is just clean code. It has nothing of your personal images or hobby projects in there. It's just like the work thing. And then the other one is your personal thing. So I think that's also something where two different use cases, and it doesn't mean you only have to have